Hello, everyone. Thank you once again for joining me today on this episode of Oracle Network and Security Landscape. Today, I want to bring a new demonstration, a project that will teach us or that will demonstrate to us Identity and Access Management Federation and Dynamic Groups. Now, what does this mean? What I'm building here is a SAML 2.0 federation with Keycloak. So users authenticate against your corporate IDP rather than holding OCI local password. Tag-based dynamic groups, so compute instances can call OCI APIs without any stored API keys. A network source restricting admin API calls to the corporate VPN egress IP. So let me break this down. Simple English, what I want to do here is to demonstrate how you can integrate your internal identity and access management to your Oracle Cloud infrastructure. And when this is done, Oracle Cloud infrastructure is the backbone of other Oracle tools and systems. So that shows that it can propagate across other components of your Oracle estate. So that is what I want to do. For identity and provider, you can use anyone you like, but for me, I'm using a Keycloak. It's an open source, easy to deploy and work with. So if you want to do that, you can do that. But if you want to use a Microsoft Entra ID, that is available as well, and some other, and I think Okta too. Okta can do the same thing. So let me move forward here and let me show you but before I do that, remember that this series of my project is basically on Oracle Cloud environment. And in this cloud environment, what I'm doing right now, this project 10, I call it project 10, is a video demonstration of like 10 projects that will cut across most of the capabilities that you can find within Oracle Network and Security Services. Now, in the first video, I laid out the plan. I laid out the pillars, the component, the services, how things, it's more or less like a thesis. In my second video, I started with a landing zone, Oracle OCI landing zone, which is like a benchmark, a standard practice when you want to start out building within that landscape. Then the second one I did is hub and spoke network security. Now, this is where I layered a secure network component upon the landing zone. So, build network security components, an architect that can ensure the right services are exposed to the internet, while those ones that want to keep secret or confidential are within the right composition and configuration like spoke network and the components subnet within that. Now, that is the third video, but that is the second hands-on project. This fourth video, which is the third project, is project 3 at 3 of 10. So this project 3 of 10 is identity federation and dynamic groups. So that is what I've laid out. And the first thing I want to do here is how to add a SAML identity to the provider. That is what I should do. But I want to back up a bit and kind of show us how we can even, like set up or maybe, start with our identity provider. It's okay. So if you come here, you will see here that this is my Keycloak. So one of the advice I want to give is that this is very easy. You can just use a Docker image, available there to, spin up some a very minimalistic manifest. Run your Docker Compose up, and this will be up, and you can access it locally. So when you do that, I don't want to bring the full setup. It's very simple. Well, if you have any issue with that, you can Google it and you can reach out to me. So I don't want to bring that to this space, but from here you can see that you can log in based on what you set up, and this is your IDP now. So this is the IDP I want to use for this. So moving away from that, then this is my OCI environment, and then I will take it from there. So the first thing I want us to do is to create a new realm. So when you log into your Keycloak, you can go to manage realms here, and you can say create new realm. And I want to call these OCI KC as Keycloak Federation. So Federation. And that is all you need to do. Just click create, and it's created. So when this is done, now if you come down here, you can delete it. But the next thing you have to do is go to RAM, settings, and this is your settings. So I can give it a display name too. I use the same name for display name, and update that. So the next thing you need to do here is to go to this place called you see other endpoint. You will see SAML 2.0 identity provider metadata. So if you get there, you can do a save here, and make sure it's saved as XML file. So I can call it OCI KC Federation metadata, an XML file, and I can download and save that. So while that is done, then the next thing I need to do is to log into my OCI. Now that it's like I've completed my task here, so I can go to my OCI, and I will go to my domain. So for instance, if you are, let me take it from somebody domains, okay. Then if you look at it, I have default domain here. Then when I get to this place, I can go to Federation, and go down here. I can add IDP. So actions, see add SAML IDP. So when I do that, I can call it this KC OCI IDP, and I can just give it IDP Keycloak IDP. And so when you give it that description, so you can go ahead and say, okay, name it, put everything there, and here I can upload that file that was that I downloaded. Okay, I call it Federation metadata. Then yeah. So what is again? I'll click next. And when that is done, then I can just save it. Save it, and go. Upload identity provider metadata. I thought I did that. Moving to next. And here we just make sure I do next as well. We create. So if you look at here now, you see KC OCI IDP is created. So like I exported the metadata for the Keycloak, which is our internal, or let me say, or internal IDP that wants to integrate with OCI. Here too, I have to export this so that I can import it to Keycloak. So if you look up here, you will see export SAML metadata. So I will say export, and I will say XML, and I will say download metadata file. There's another one with signed certificate, but I just want to use this. So yes, so this is how, let me rename this because it looks like I have multiple of it. And just rename it to metadata for OCI KC. Okay. So now that that is done, that I have it exported, so the next thing I have to do is to go back to Keycloak, and then when I get here, this one is completed. When I get back here, the next thing I want to do is to get to clients here. Look at here, and under client, we say okay, import client. So here, and I will browse this is the guy, the file, sorry. So I can name it, like data from OCI. Just somehow it makes life easier so that you know what save it. So now that this is saved, then I can go to client scope. Here you see client scope under clients. So under client scope, you can client scope. Here you do create client scope. So you create client scope, and the name for that client scope should be groups. The description, we really need description, but the type should be default. Yes. and the protocol should be SAML. Okay, so here make sure you change that to SAML, and the display on consent should be off. So this display on consent should be toggled off. Okay, so when that is done, you can say save. Then we can now go to mappers. Let's save, go to mappers, and you say add mappers by configuration. Then select group list. Here you select group list, and you now give it a name. Name is group as well. Then members, it's okay. Name is group. Group attribute name will be group as well. So some attribute it should be unspecified. Unspecified. Single group attribute should be toggled on. This should be on. So just note that. So you can do that and go to client. So here you can save. Go to client. Yeah, go to OCI SAML client. So this guy, you can see this is the SAML client we have. Okay. So scope tab, client scopes, and let's add a scope. So here we would add a scope. And here you can choose a group and you say add. Okay. So go back again because I want to show. So we add a group and it's default good. Okay, so now that we have that done, that is done. That is the almost everything that I have to do within the Keycloak, system itself. Now I have to get back to our OCI environment to continue the configuration. Okay, so let's continue with this. So the next thing is that after finishing up with all the configuration you need to do in Keycloak, so you come down to your OCI under federation, your default identity, tenancy, you come to, or domain, you come to federation, under federation here. The last time what I did there was to export the SAML metadata. But now that we have the IDP, SAML activated here, or let me say configured here, you can just go into it, click on it, and come to actions. So when you come to actions, say configure JIT. So when you do that, you will say enable, and here you say when the user account does not exist, I want to make one or two things here. So first is a toggle assign group mapping on. This is map group membership. This should be on. The one of user, I'm not sure whether we need that, so assign group mapping, set group membership attribute to groups. So group membership attribute. Okay, so the next thing wants to do is to do this. Let's give it names of the groups that we want to do. So I will do this. I will do admins. Let me do this admin, and that group will be responsible for security admin. Okay, so we have security admin here. Good. Then I will add another one. This one can be for network admins, and yes, so we have a network admin here. I will add another one called OCI auditors, and then I will have OCI auditors. Okay, so these are the major configuration we need to do here, and here I can click update, and click update group membership attribution name. I will call this one groups. I think I missed that before. No. Okay, so alliance implicit, so I can say update enable list one user creation attribute. Okay, good. So with that, we have this. I have this, completed. So now the next thing I want to do is to try to update the policy. So let's get down here. Let me go back a bit. One sec. I can activate this IDP. Or maybe I should wait. Let me get back. Then I can go back to default here. Identity provider policies. You can see there you see default here. Then you go to the rules, and here you can do edit IDP rules. Then under this place, you should be able to, okay, I think I need to, let me go a step further, backward. Here, let me activate this IDP. Let me get back to identity provider policy. Let me go to identity provider rules. Try to edit it. You can see now that we have the IDP now here. So when that is done, that shows that what I've just done is that I'm adding additional identity provider to the default one. So now if anyone wants to log into Oracle OCI, you can be presented with two identity provider. One is the Oracle owned one, and the other one is the Keycloak. So that is what that place means. So I can just save it, and with that, that comes to the end of this particular configuration. So the other thing I want to look at is to show us the result, at least a login screen for this. So if you look at my screen now, this is me trying to log into my Oracle OCI, and you can see that I have the default domain here with its internal identity provider, and I have the KCOCI IDP here that I just configured. So here, if I try to click on this, you see it directed me to the OCI KC Federation that I created before now during the process of this video. So this is how to, this is how to connect or create a federation between your Oracle Cloud infrastructure and a third-party identity provider. And in this case is Keycloak IDP. So that comes to the end of this particular session, where I have been able to show us how to set this up. Then now I will now move forward with other component of the project that continue this in OCI environment. But the reason why I have to take time to explain, the back and forth between the Keycloak and the OCI configuration is that I see it very, very important for anyone who wants to, deploy things like this, to have the overall knowledge of what needs to be done both sides of the technology. Yeah, so I will continue from there, and yeah. So the next thing on this series, or let me say on this video, is what I call dynamic groups for resource principles. Now, a dynamic group let compute resources call OCI APIs using their instant ID. Yes, using their instant ID, so that they don't require no API key, no credential rotation, no secret to leak. The matching rule determines which which instances are members. So for instance, what this means is that you can create a dynamic group for resource principals. That shows that every resource that belongs to that particular group and can be the ID of that particular group can be used to access the resources within that group. So that is what dynamic groups for resource is all about. And why that is good, but I just want us to go forward and create one. So let me go to identity and security. So from there you go to domains. So from domain you click on your domain, and then you can go to dynamic groups here. So you can say create dynamic groups. So for instance, I have a name here that I can use for a dynamic group I want to create. I'll be creating like two, but this one is meant to carry my workload. I have a compartment that I created before now, I think in one of our demonstrations, where I created a compartment called workload instances. So here, let me just put a very simple description, because description can be very great, especially when things become so. Compute instances in workload compartment can read vault secret without API keys. So now I need a rule here for that to be able to happen. I need a rule here for that to be able to happen. So let me get a rule. and we can move forward. So I have this rule. Any instance compartment, ID equals this. This is the compartment ID for workload instances. So I can say match any rules defined below. So that is a good one. Then I can say create. So that will be created. Now I can move back again and say it should create another one. This time around, I want to create for security. I want to create for security compartment. So I will give it this name. I'll say create. I'll give it this name. Sometimes it will require some cleanup. Okay. Then yeah. So I can just say for. I think I created for. I think my name is wrong. Sorry. So this time around, it should be for security functions, not for workload. And so I can give it some descriptions. Then I will have a new. We just try to have something that can work here. Some template here. That is for security. Let me clean this up here. So now with that, I can create this. So if you go back a bit, one step, you see that I have two dynamic groups here. We have one for security function and the other one for workload instance. So that is how to create a dynamic group. And that is what they do. So let's create the policies now. So the next thing is for us to for me to create policy for both dynamic groups that I've just created. So we go to policies. Let me go here. There we say create policy. I will give this one a name. So clean up here. Okay. And now this policy should be, note that it should be at the root level. So if you look at here, you see that I want to leave this at root level here. But the other thing is the policy statement itself. So allow dynamic group. This handle this. So these are the two allow dynamic group. The name of the group here, the group I created to read secret bundles in compartment OCI security. That one too needs to be modified. So this one will read the secret, and this one will allow for reading of vault, instance to read vault in this particular compartment as well. So these are so if you read it properly, make sure you don't make any mistakes. Whatever you use in your name should be what you have here. So you can create I just put it read say read keys. That's fine. So you can see that is created. Then I want to create another one, another policy. Say create policy. All this. Okay. Then let me bring in the policy statements. Okay. It must always have some modification to make here. Like I said, make sure you remember to customize it to your naming convention. Okay. I can say, so if you look at this, it says it should go into security function and to manage keys in this compartment security, and at the same time this one should use vault in this same compartment as well. So I can say manage key, manage this, and use vault. So with that I can say create. So these two are created now. So now what is the expectation? I will test. Yes, I will test, but this is what the test should look like. Now, boot if you have an instance in a workload. I will have an instance, a VM instance in the compartment workload, this particular compartment workload. And if I SSH, via the Bastion host, and if I run OCI secret bundle get secret ID and some other command like that, it should return the secret without any configured API keys. This proves that the dynamic group and policy are working. That shows that when I define what dynamic group and policy does, when you configure it and you test it, you have an instance within the compartment and the group that automatically can take advantage of the ID of that compartment and do its job without having to issue API keys. And this go a long way to help security, because you don't have to worry with rotation. You don't have to worry with maybe you losing a key, or maybe a key is leaking or what have you. So this is a very for some workload, this is a very good practice, and there is a good thing that we are demonstrating that. Okay, so let's look at the last session of this episode, and that has to do with network sources. So if you go back to your identity and security, and you will see here network sources. Now, you can create network sources that should be able to access or do certain things within your OCI environment. And I'm going to give a typical use case. I don't have a VPN that I will use, but in your VPN environment, it's a very perfect, solution. Let me say example or use case for this. So, for instance, when I go here and I say create network sources, I can actually name it my corporate network. Yes, just name it my corporate network, and I can give it some descriptions. Maybe VPN pod. I have reasons why I call it pod like that. Then I can say, okay, maybe use the public network and put the CIDR range of your VPN. Now, this is, you can just create here, but I don't have a VPN, block that I can use for that. And if you look at this here, I can select, if I'm using a virtual network, I can select available virtual network. For instance, if I'm here, I can select not much here. Yeah, you can see I can select a particular subnet, maybe my hub, and you can see automatically that happens there. But the point I'm trying to make here is not to use an internal network alone again. The best use case is when you use a public network, but this time around is pointed to your VPN, right? Now, if it's pointed to your VPN, then you can create a policy. Now, let me show you that policy. Let me show you a typical example of that policy. Okay. I'll give you a typical example. So let me try to create this. Okay, this is maximum number is so. Let's assume I have this, and I can come here. Let me just put this policy so that we can read it. Allow group OCI, this particular group, to manage keys in compartment this, where request network sources equals corporate. You can see corporate VPN. So the beauty of this is that if when this is created and configured, this policy is in effect, it means that network sources are it means that you can actually make sure that even if somebody stole a laptop that belongs to an engineer, that particular, whatever API or whatever it finds, secret that is found within that API, within that laptop, is useless. So let me say this. A credential stolen from an engineer's laptop is useless if the thief is not on the corporate VPN when they are trying to use it to call the API. That shows that they have to be on the corporate VPN, to be able to do anything, irrespective of what they have. So this is the beauty of this. That is the interpretation of this particular statement. Statement I put up here, that so network sources are one of the most underused OCI security controls. A credential, like I said, stolen will make no effect if they don't have access to the VPN, if you have a network sources configured. So this is the end of this particular episode. And in this episode, what we did here is IAM Federation and Dynamic Groupings. And you can see that I have been able to demonstrate how you can set up your identity provider, and I use Keycloak as an example, how you exchange the metadata file between OCI, federation and configuration, and Keycloak SAML file, how you do those configurations, and how you create dynamic groups, how you create groupings, how you configure them, and how you test out. And some of the policies, I explain some of the policies you can effect, and some of the configurations you can put in place within this configuration, within this enablement or capability, to make sure that security is embedded within your Oracle Cloud environment. So, SAML Federation with Keycloak, three group mappings, translating IDP claims to OCI groups, dynamic group for credential-free vault access from compute instances, network source restricting admin, API calls to corporate VPN. So those are the things that I'll be able to demonstrate here today. Like I said, my video is not a well, like let me say, edited video. It's a video for engineers, video people that really wants to get their hands dirty, that are comfortable seeing the errors, the quirks and everything. And with that, I come to the end of this episode. In my next episode is going to be Project 4, Video 5, and that will be Vault and Data Encryption. Thank you once again for joining me. See you then.